In essence, we are agents of change. If you want to find out more about what we do, log on to our website at thinkbig39.co.za. I repeat, thinkbig39.co.za. Now, the weather in Gauteng is pretty hot, and I believe that it's going to correlate with the conversation we're going to have today. It's going to be a very hot conversation on career planning. How do I manage my career? How do I take the next steps? Or perhaps, how do I pivot? We've got two amazing speakers who are going to take us through presentations, leveraging off their insights. And then at the end of every presentation, we're going to have a Q&A session. Just to begin with a couple of house rules, I would like to implore everybody to please mute their mics and allow the speakers alone to speak, because we can all sing at the same time, but with technology, we can only speak one at a time. So please hold your questions until the end, or please just post them on the chat. We will make sure that during the Q&A discussion, your questions are answered when we have that dialogue. Now, without any further ado, just getting into the thick of things and getting into the action, I'm going to start off with our first speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, she is a seasoned audit and risk management practitioner with over 13 years of experience across multiple sectors. She's passionate about empowering organizations to achieve their goals through effective risk management and developing talent. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please put our virtual hands together for the one and only Itumeleng Makheme. Itumeleng, over to you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for that lovely welcome, Ezekiel. I will share my screen quickly because I've put together a presentation, and I'm not going to bore you with slides. You know how auditors can be, but I just have a presentation in place to make sure that I guide my conversation, because once I start talking about my career, I can go on and on and on and on forever. That's me. I can talk for ages. So I was asked today to talk to you about the art of pivoting your career. And I'm going to do this using my career journey to highlight the different pivot points in my path. And I know that the people on this call are mainly young people that are growing up in this generation where the world is constantly changing. And because of that, the ability to be able to adapt and redefine your path is increasingly more important now. Career pivoting is not only about changing your job. It can be mainly about that, changing, where you are going in your current path. But it is more also about embracing growth. You can embrace the growth that you see or the opportunities that you see in your current position or your current career. But it's about being open to pursuing those new opportunities and being able to identify what truly fulfills you and going after that and pursuing it, right? And like I said, because the world is constantly changing, what truly fulfills us also changes over time. So that's the reason why you will want to pivot and change the direction of your path. So to start with, I'm going to tell you my story and my journey and explain the different pivot points as well as the different lessons that I learned during those pivot points. And my story, or my first change, actually took place way before I started working. This is when I was still in university. So at university, I studied internal auditing. And when we were in our honors year, to be able to pass and finish your honors year, you have to do what they call vacation work. So during the June holidays, you have to find an audit company where you're going to work for the June holidays, and that counts as part of your mark to be able to graduate. So, as you all are aware, there are four big audit firms in the country and worldwide, and these are the companies that we all aspired to join when we were in varsity. So we put out our CVs and tried to do our vacation work at these big four audit firms with the objective, obviously, of being employed by those companies when we start working in the following year. So I was fortunate to get my VEC work at audit firm number 1. And the reason I'm calling them audit firm number 1, audit firm number 2, 3, and 4 is because part of the story, something that was negative took place, right? And I don't want to badmouth any of these audit firms because I don't want you guys thinking when the time comes and you want to go to these organizations and then you have a negative perception. But it's part of my story. I'm going to tell you the story, and the name of the firms are irrelevant, right? So I got an offer to come and do my vacation work at audit firm number 1. Audit firm number 1, I go and I do my vacation work. When I finish my vacation work, I get an offer to come and work for them permanently in the following year, to do my training contract, actually not permanent, it's a training contract for 3 years. But I was very fortunate that I received a training contract from 2 other audit firms. So audit firm number 2 and audit firm number 3, right? Audit firm number 1 was widely known in the industry that they pay very well. This is the audit firm that I'd done my vacation work at. Everybody knew they're the best paying one of the 4. So I had received offers from 3, and they were my first offer and they were my highest offer, right? So naturally, which one would I go for? Audit firm 1, right? It's the highest offer. And also because I'm familiar with the place. I was there for like a month or 2. I already made relationships. I already made connections. This would be an easy choice. However, this was where I had to make my first change or my first decision to change my path because it was already set that I'm going to audit firm number 1. But while I was doing the vacation work, the audit partner, so I'd been placed on a job, and on this audit, the audit partner that was there said to me, "Do not come here for your training contract." And I thought it was the weirdest thing anyone has ever told me because I mean he works there already, and he said, "If you want to train, this is not the best ground for training. Rather go and train at audit firm number 3 or audit firm number 4. Those are the best grounds to train because here I've seen the graduates. I've seen some of them that are in their 3rd year already and they are not doing well." And he made an example, asked some of them some questions in front of us and they could not answer. And that could have actually disappointed me, right? And said, what is this? Like, my path has been set, I've got a high offer, but I still made the decision not to go with the highest paying. So just because it's the highest paying offer, it's not always the best one, right? Look for the things that check whether it aligns with your values, check whether it aligns with what you are trying to achieve. If you are there because you are starting out and you want the best environment to grow and develop, do that. Go to the best one, not the one that pays the most, right? Because yes, you might not be earning the highest amount now when you're starting out, but when you are trained well and you are the best in your field, in a few years, people will be fighting for your skills and you will be confident to take whatever offer that comes because you know you are confident in the skills and the background that you have. So make sure that your foundation is solid and strong. Do not rush for the first offer that comes because now you are young. People are going to be throwing offers. Make sure that you pick the one that is going to align with your objectives and your goals and what you're looking for. So that was the first pivot point in my career. And I didn't say the names of the other audit firms, but I eventually went with KPMG, and I'm going to say the name of that one because it is on my CV. You're going to be able to see that. So the one that I went with was KPMG. It wasn't the best paying of the three, but it was the best decision that I've made for my career, right? Maybe you might not be thinking that now that you know some stories about KPMG, but let me tell you, when I was there, I learned a lot. Those people invested a lot in our careers, in our development, in our training. And I left that place as the best auditor. And I can say that, right? But while I was there at the beginning, I'd done a few audits. And then after a while, I started realizing that I'm not being planned for audits. I'm not being planned on any jobs, and I would just sit at the office. And if you are in my field, you know that sitting at the office is the worst thing that can ever happen to you, right? Our productivity, our performance is measured on how many audits you are on, how much time you bill to clients. So I'm sitting at the office every day idle, not doing any work. And I start wondering what's going on. So I have a discussion with my counseling manager. So they assign you counseling managers at the firm because you have no manager that you report to, right? Because you work for different clients and different managers. So I sit with the counseling manager and I'm like, what's up? Why am I not being planned on anything? And he says to me, people are scared of you. And I'm thinking, what? And he says, yeah, you have a very strong personality, but at times it can also come across as very aggressive. And remember, I've always known I have a very strong personality. I will raise issues. I will challenge things when they need to be challenged, but never have I thought of myself as aggressive, right? And I said, that's never my intention. And I don't agree. I don't think I'm aggressive. And he said to me something that will always stay with me. And that's something I want to share with you. He said, in the corporate world, perception is everything and reality is irrelevant. So whether your intentions are not to be aggressive does not matter. If other people are perceiving you that way, other people are experiencing you that way, that's the truth about you. And they will send the message. They will keep telling other people, she's aggressive, and no one wants to work with anyone who's aggressive. So that was good. I was glad they told me that. And I didn't change my personality. I'm still very fierce and very strong, but I'm also very considerate. I can listen. I can hear people out now. I can read the room to see how I make other people feel, how I make other people experience me. I can give people a chance to speak as well. I don't have to always be the one with the loud voice. So that was very important, and I really appreciated that, right? And this, you might not be thinking, how is that a pivot point? I didn't change my job. I was still in the same job, but I changed my mindset. I changed how I did things, how I conducted myself at work, and that changed a lot for me going forward in my career while I was still at KPMG. And then the last one while I was at KPMG is know when to quit. Right? That is very important for you if you are thinking about pivoting your career. If you are seeing that you are becoming unfulfilled, things are stagnant, you are not growing, you're not learning anything anymore, do not stay because you're going to kill your brain. Make that decision to move on. It does not mean you are disloyal. I know the older generation likes to think of us as people who are uncommitted, but you are not serving the company if you're staying there, but you are not motivated anymore, right? You're not helping yourself, you're also not helping the company. So while I was still at KPMG, I was doing very well. I was working in the hospitality sector. I was performing really well. I was getting the highest ratings. You know, they were very happy with me. But because they were very happy with me, they didn't want to let me go. They wanted to keep me in that one portfolio, and I didn't get a chance to work in other areas because they're like, we want this one. And I stopped growing because I had done the hospitality sector for forever. I'd learned everything that I could learn about it, but they were not recognizing that. And that's when I made the decision to leave. So it's important. Don't wait until it's too late, because then you're going to be like, I've been here for too long. Let me just stay. Also, if you've been there for too long, other people might not want you. So learn quickly to identify when it's time to move on. So then I left and I went to a company that I really loved, and I really enjoyed my time there, right? The organization as a whole was great. I really loved being at Hollard. You will see it on my CV as well. So that's why I'm saying their name. But while I was there, they quickly also started talking to me about, oh, we like what you do, we like your work, and we want to promote you. So I was just an auditor, a business auditor, and they said we want to make you. And their plan was to make me a supervisor in the role. And they then said, you know what, we're going to make you do the work of a supervisor, right? To develop you. Isn't it? That's what we used to. If you want to grow and you want to stretch yourself, you start taking on more responsibilities. So that's what I do. I did. I did the work of a supervisor, but still being paid as a business auditor, right? And I did it for a very long time. And they kept saying, it's coming, it's coming. This promotion is coming, it's coming. And it was not coming, right? And that's the next lesson that I learned when I made my next pivot was you must quickly pick up when you are being used. No one wants to be used goods. As soon as you realize that you're being used, you need to realize and move on. And the thing is, they were not wrong. It's tough when you're a manager. You need to do the most with the least. They were getting what the organization needed because they were getting somebody who was a junior doing the work of a senior being paid at a junior level. That was a win-win for them, right? So, and they were going to keep this going for as long as they could. But I then realized this to say, you need to make a change if you want to grow, right? You're going to be doing this thing, but you're actually being used. It is good to stress yourself, and don't get me wrong. If they are saying do a little bit extra to stretch for your own growth, you must do it. But you need to have some timelines to say when does it start and when does it end, right? And then as soon as I realized this, then I started thinking, I need to move on. So when I remember I was a business auditor, they were promising me a supervisor. I was very desperate to be a supervisor. And when I started looking for work, I was being shown jobs for managers. I'm wanting to be a supervisor, and people are sending me jobs for manager roles. And every time I would think, why would I apply to be a manager? My next is a supervisor. And let me tell you this, I know you've probably heard about this one, and it's mainly us women, where we look at the job description and we're thinking there's no way. I don't meet anything. I only take 50 or 60% of the requirements. But take the leap, trust yourself, and put through your application and see what happens, right? I put through my application for that manager role. And when I got there, they were very happy with me. They told me, oh, you are just the person we're looking for. And I was very surprised. So don't wait. Shoot your shot and see. Sometimes you are being crazy, and being too ambitious. Yes, but do it. You might be surprised. Sometimes that's just where your next pivot is, right? So don't be scared of the job descriptions and the requirements. Try, apply, and see. Because sometimes you are setting yourself back on what your next really is. So then this job that I went to was at Standard Bank, and I joined Standard Bank in the internal audit department. So when I joined the internal audit department, my husband's also an internal auditor, and he also had just joined a Standard Bank 2 months before me in the same department, internal audit department. So we were essentially in the same team. And something happened that at the time we thought was the most horrible thing to happen to us. They said to us, you can't both be in this team. It's a conflict. One of you must move. And we thought it was the worst time of our lives. We didn't understand what was happening. We were sad, we were crying, or maybe I was crying, maybe he wasn't. But yeah, it wasn't nice. So we started applying internally, both of us, thinking one of us can find the job and one of us can move out, right? Because we can't both be in that team. And this is the next part that I want to leave you guys, oh, I want to share with you guys is let God. That situation, I didn't start looking for work because I wanted to move. This is the one time where God started intervening to say, actually, you are going to make a change in your career. And I made the change and I moved to compliance and then later to risk management. And it was good because I worked in risk management, and that's the best thing that has happened to me, because now I'm a better auditor because I'm an auditor that has strong risk management experience, right? So it was an opportunity for me to grow, but at the time it didn't feel like it. So sometimes when things are happening and you're thinking, this seems bad, it's actually a good thing. So I see I'm running out of time. Maybe I'm going to skip to this one just to wrap up, right? To say that life is a jungle gym and not a ladder. And I think it's if you've read the book Lean In, Cheryl Sanders says this in the book to say it's not a ladder. We need to stop thinking about the workplace as a ladder. So I left Standard Bank where I was a manager, I had direct reports, and I went to the Reserve Bank where I now have someone managing me. I'm a specialist. I don't have any direct reports, but I do the best work of my career. I am learning more than I've ever learned before, right? It's great. It was the best pivot actually of my career, but it wasn't upwards. It was maybe low, sideways or downwards if you are somebody who cares about titles. So that's very important. Don't think about your pivots only as opportunity to go up the ladder. It can also go lateral. It can also go downwards. But it's more about what you go. It goes back to what I said at the beginning. If you want more money, then take the more money. But if you want to grow and develop your country, your career, go to where you need to be. Just like I did here, I didn't want a title. I wanted to learn and grow. And that's what I'm doing, right? And then my last one was create patterns. So creating patterns refers to where I'm going to next. I might be leaving the Reserve Bank very soon. And it's because of the patterns that I created. So in all the jobs that I had been in the past, I had been starting things and creating things. I've started departments in some areas. I have started functions or developed methodologies and stuff, and people have noticed. And they have now asked me to start an internal audit function somewhere. So create patterns in your career, and people are looking, people will notice, and people will know you for that particular thing. And in conclusion, I want to say pivoting your career is a brave and empowering decision. Embrace the uncertainty, seek out the opportunities, because you need to be able to recognize the opportunities. Trust in your ability to adapt. You will adapt. You will find a way to adapt. The path may not always be clear, but with determination and an open mind, you can find fulfillment in your professional life. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Hey, squasa jiwa man. Hey, beyond 6 o'clock, and we still have ample English data bundles. Um, those were really great insights. the highest offer is not always the best offer. Knowing when to quit. And I believe Brother Enigma would love this one. Let God, let God. Unkulunkulu uthi. So thank you very much for sharing all of those nuggets. And we're about to get into a Q&A discussion with our speaker, um, Itumeleng. Before we let you off the hook and we start with the next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to afford you the opportunity to ask her all of these questions. You heard her. She says she might be leaving the Reserve Bank. Hasazi ukuthi uyaphi, mhlambe she'll be going into the Ministry of Finance and being the minister. Uzomtholaphi. How are you going to ask her such questions when she's there? So please let's use this opportunity to ask her those questions. And if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and unmute yourself. How do so? There's a question from Wako. How do you best negotiate for salaries while pivoting? Athi fake imali uzobona. Babuzi wena uMama Makheme, how do you best negotiate for salaries while pivoting?
That's the best. That's a good question, Mark, right? And to be able to do this correctly, you need to be able to have information. So speak to people who are at the place that you're trying to go to. Remember, there's people who like saying your relation or your connections are your best currency. This is when it applies. You need to have people that you know at the next place that you're going to. Speak to people and people that you trust that are going to be honest with you about what the salary ranges are at that place. But also, we need to start being more assertive when we go into salary discussions, right? A lot of companies will say, send us your salary, your current salary. Have the brave conversations of saying, no, can we, that sharing my salary is actually taking away my negotiating power. Can we discuss how much you guys are offering? And then I will see whether that offer is suited for me, right? It might be a little bit difficult at the beginning when you are at the starting phase of your career to do that. Maybe at the beginning, send out your salary, ask people how much the going salaries are in the place, and then maybe negotiate on what they come back with. But as you start growing in your career and you have the skills, refuse to give your salary slip, your current salary, and tell them, if I tell you how much I currently earn, it takes away my negotiating power. You guys already know how much you're sitting with on the other side. Give me an offer, and then I will be able to tell you whether it works for me. But the important thing is information. Get to know the people that are on the other side. Find out how much the salaries are going for, because then it's going to put you at a better position to be able to see whether what they're offering is in line or not.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. The next question is from Amogela Mudisane. How do you build yourself as a brand in your profession?
I think it goes with what I said previously, right? So identify what you're really good at, something that you are really, this is you. There's a term that motivational people call it. I can't remember what they call it, but something that is you, something that is your thing. That this is what you're good at. Like I said, I start things, I create things. I'm really bad at seeing things through, and I know that about myself. But because I'm very great at starting, I will always put my hand up every time something needs to be started, right? So that is my brand. Everyone knows that I am very good at starting things. So identify what you are great at and create the patterns and create it loudly so that everybody can see that this is what you are known for and this is what you are great at. And that is your brand. You can pull through everywhere throughout your journey in your career path.
Oh,
Thanks.
amazing, amazing. I think we've got time for one more question. The next question is from Zakile Nkotsoe. What would you advise someone to do when they are faced with staying a job but has no reasonable prospects for the future advancement and a bigger corporation which someone tells you has a bad, toxic environment? Zakile, I don't know if you want to quickly unmute yourself. It's quite a loaded question.
Yeah.
If you want to quickly unmute yourself and get to the gist of the question, don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Okay. Thank you. What I'm basically asking is, would you advise someone to rather stay in a stable environment or like go to another environment where things are more hostile and uncertain?
Uncertain is uncertainty is always going to be there, Zakil. The next place, there will always be uncertainty, right? You never know what's gonna what's gonna be at the next place. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of uncertainty because that's where growth is. All these other places, all the moves that I've made, I didn't know where I was going, what I was throwing myself into, but there's been great growth in all of those. And I'm glad that I took the leap, right? As far as whether the place is toxic or not, sometimes we experience things very differently. Some people might be experiencing it very toxically, and you might find that you're going to thrive when you get there. So, as human beings, we experience things completely different. Don't be scared of going because other people are saying it's toxic because you haven't been there, unless if somewhere that you were there before and you saw you experienced it to be toxic. But if you haven't been, try it out. If you are not happy in your current role, just because it's stable, stability and safe is not always great for your growth. You do not grow in a place where it's stable, you are comfortable. Because if it's you're saying those words sound like you're saying you're comfortable. You see, you're not gonna grow just because you are comfortable. If you are certain and you are feeling that actually you've done everything that you could at this place, no matter how safe and comfortable it feels, make the uncomfortable decision and take the leap. You're gonna find your growth, you're gonna find your they're gonna challenge you at this new toxic, perceived toxic place. So take the leap. That's my opinion.
Ish, you know this conversation is fireworks, eh? I think can we take one more question, Itumeleng? I
Sure.
don't want I don't want people to say this is a toxic environment because I didn't take one more question. So this, just the last one. Does additional certifications help in pivoting, or or is it just great networks and relationships? Do I have
It
to get
does.
more qualifications or do I just network?
No, I think it does in certain industries, right? If you are in an industry where almost everyone is in a in a great position and they only have metric, maybe not so much, right? But if you're in an industry where it's very competitive on qualifications and skills, then you need to do the additional certification, right? For us as internal auditors, you have to be a CIA to be able to compete and get the next jobs, you know. It's a lot of people think, "Ah, why should I do it?" But it's something that is going to help you pivot, especially if you are in an industry where it's very competitive on skills and qualifications, because some of the qualifications that you will do or the certifications are skills certification. So if it's very competitive on that level and you are seeing the people that are at higher positions have all of these qualifications and skill certificates, do it. The network is important, but look at what other things are important in your particular industry.
Ish, amazing, amazing. Thank you very much for sharing those insights, Itumeleng. It's unfortunate that that's all we have time for today. Maybe Moremi and the others are going to open up a podcast called Podcast and Hustle or something like that. But thank you so much for sharing those invaluable insights. And with that said, we're about to get into our next presentation where we'll be having an independent contractor with a background in education and training programs. She's a learning and skills expert with over 13 years' experience. She's a humanitarian, a youth mentor, a life coach, and a public speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your virtual hands together for Nosipho Ndamase. Nosipho, over to you. The stage is all yours. Nosipho, are you still there? Nosipho, are you still with us? If you're responding, you're probably responding with one of those popular Teams proverbs. Sorry, I was still on mute. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We're just having a few technical glitches, but we're resolving that with Nosipho, our next speaker. Nosipho? Please give me 1 second. Nosipho, are you still there? Bongani, press, can you gents assist with just getting a hold of Nosipho? Okay, awesome. Itu, people are saying we want more, we want more. I see Nosipho's joining. Let's see if this works before we bring back Itumeleng. Nosipho, 1212. Please unmute yourself and say hi.
Good evening, everyone.
Please unmute. Please mute the other device that you're using, and then we can get into this. All right, I think we're sorted. Nosipho, please unmute yourself. Nosipho. In the interim, I think maybe we can take one more question for Itumeleng. There we go. There we go. There we go. Hey, technology, ne?
I know, right? Because I've been on, I've been listening, I've been ready, and now when it's my turn to share, I'm experiencing some technical glitches. But anyway, not to spoil the mood and to just give momentum because we do have time constraints. Good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Nosipho Ndamase, and I'm a learning and development skills expert. This will probably be another example of perhaps some of my how I've turned my challenges into opportunities, or how I have had to remain quite a little bit calm and be creative when I'm under stress or things don't go my way, like tonight. So I'm going to try to be as creative as I can, because now I don't have my presentation, but I do have a story. So anyway, I have got 27 years of a career journey from the time of my matric scholarship level and environment up until right now being a head of skills development. My story is a little bit different from most individuals because I'm one of those that I did not have a career plan. So when I was in matric and about to move into university, I had no career plan, and I did not have academic plans either. So unlike many, there was no plan, no strategy. There was no mentor. There was no coach. There was no career planning advisor. There was no parents who were woke and maybe a little bit aware of what's happening in Johannesburg. I come from the Northwestern Klerksdorp, and like most people, I came to Johannesburg for schooling and for work. So when I came in here, I'm one of those individuals where I started my academic experience at Wits Technikon back then. And I landed into a qualification that I did not choose. That was just an available one because there was a lot of complete and no longer spaces for one to apply where they wanted to apply. So I could really say that for me personally, my career path chose me, and it has served me professionally, financially, and personally. And I have served my career path just as well, because one, I feel like it chose me because I didn't have a plan, but there was already a plan in life that the universe had already kind of planned for me. And I think it explains why I perhaps maybe had an absence or a lack of planning. However, that's not my advice to you guys tonight to say do not plan. I think because of the workplace context, the job market context, the entrepreneur world today, I think when you can have a strategic plan, you can achieve your goals quite effectively. So this is my story, but it's not a blueprint for everyone. I'm just hoping that by telling it, it may inspire some of you, it may empower others in terms of just making sure that maybe they do a little bit more in where could have been my challenges or where I feel like there were disadvantages. So I don't have my presentation, but I'm going to say that I did not have a plan when I left. My first qualification was a diploma in marketing and business management. As you've heard, there's nothing marketing about my profile. I am strictly in the human resource and the talent development space. So that qualification, I completed it. And back in the days, there was no internships, no graduate programs, no learnerships. So you could complete your school, but if you didn't have experience, there was zero opportunity. So imagine to enter into a marketing agency, I would have had to have experience. So anyway, in the absence of all of these things that most of you have got the pleasure of, is that I then were open to the flow of my life at that point. I didn't get a marketing opportunity. Then I said, well, let me start looking for employment. My first roles were in the what we call the administrative roles. I was a switchboard operator. At some point, I was a receptionist. At some point, I was a PA. At some point, I was a typist to a legal firm because I have typing as one of my subjects in matric. So my first experiences were administrative roles. And I want to say, be very careful to speak ill about your humble beginnings, about your emerging early job careers. Be careful to demean it because that is a weakness that is already implying that you are not aware that every job that you are participating in, any posy or whatever you want to call it, a hustle, whatever it is, that may not connect to the fact that, okay, I'm a CA, but now why am I a cashier at Pick and Pay? Because I actually need to earn an income, help out in the family in the meantime. Do not demean that opportunity because actually, if you can identify the skills that you are gaining in those small roles, you will be able to articulate them better in terms of how that levels you up for your next moves. And you'll be able to communicate. Right now, I may be a head of skills development, but what makes me good at my job is that I have the planning skill because my first roles were administrative. I was planning for the executives that I was the PAs to. I was always have to have a vision and structure, whether it was their diaries, whether it was coordinating their clients and so forth. So customer service, I learned from the beginning, even though I was a receptionist. But that skill is called customer service because I had to learn that. Communication skills, I learned them at the beginning of the roles that I was just in 2000 Rand back then. And so I do not demean or speak ill of my early beginnings because those skills are so entrenched in me right now. And even in my personal life, I'm a good organizer, even in my household, in my family. Now, because of time, I'm going to move along to which door opened when I entered into the learning and HR space. So anyway, as I was saying, I was a PA to the HR director, and I was bored and I started asking HR managers, can I do something in HR? Can I contribute? Because here's one thing you must know, even if you are in your beginning of your career or whether you are emerging, right? As we call the youth careers, early careers, you need to know that you are already entering with your talents. You're not a beggar. You're already entering with your gifts that no school, that nobody can give to you. So I always came through to my jobs with my personality. Nothing that no one can give me. My confidence was given by my grandmother back at home. So I did not learn this confidence. I came with it. So I may not have the skill, I may not have a knowing of some job function that I've entered in, but my determination, my confidence, and my a thing to like to win and to be successful because I gain satisfaction in that has always been the driving force of how I move myself from an administrator to becoming a head of skills and heading up a function of 32 people. Obviously, that's not my current role right now. I will end into where I am, which is kind of similar to what Itumeleng was talking about, that sometimes pivoting is not always the next step up. Sometimes pivoting is, maybe you want to go back to being a specialist. I don't necessarily need to be a head. My goal is not to be an executive. My goal is to become a specialist with so much depth that I now become the one who's an advisory into many platforms, a thought leadership in platform like this, where I can share in my knowledge, and I become a coach and a mentor in the spaces that I'm an expert on. The PA to the HR, when I offered myself to volunteer, that gave me an HR experience. So I could put that on my CV. So yes, please do learn to record your activities. Learn to record your skills, whatever that you're doing, record it. If you are tutoring people, record it on your CV. Because once you want to do a profile, you need to be able to know how to brand and articulate your journey. And so I then had an HR skills, and I applied for a role at Investec. Investec was my first role of an entry, what we call a door to the beginning of my career. And I was an HR administrator. That door got me into my career today. I spent probably a year at Investec. Because I was an HR coordinator, I was recruiting. I was the administrator who does inductions and also what we call onboarding of new candidates. But there was always something just not satisfying me. You know, I would find myself bored during interviews and I'm not listening and I'm just thinking something is missing. And because, like I said, my career path found me and it has served me, I then, the same agent who got me to Investec, got me a role at a company that I too don't want to mention, but this very same company, I owe it to this particular company from where I am today. Because when I left Investec to this asset management company, to this finance and insurance industry company, I birthed a career that was in line with my purpose. So I am one of those lucky people that my career is in line with my purpose. And maybe that's why there was no planning that was required, because there were things I already have that I was born with that would require a success and a value add in this role. All corporate had to do for me was to give me an environment that was conducive for me to learn. Corporate had to give me an environment that would academically increase my levels, because obviously, you know, corporate pays for your education if you like it, and if that's the corporate that you are in. And all corporate had to do was to give me a platform to then exercise my skills, my talents, and even give back to them the very same experiences that they have offered me. So in this role where I thought I was going to be there for 2 years, it was 11 years. And the reason I owe it to this organization, or this part of my career of 11 years, is that the depth of learning and development, the depth of developing and implementing young talent programs, because that's my brand. I am known to recruit young talent. I am known to coach them. I am known to go into companies and be able to say, this is a program, I see a gap, this is the gap, these are the gaps that are happening. There's fourth industrial as well. Let's design a program. Because I'm a designer as well, I'm able to design content, or I'm able to analyze the content that should be part of a learning for individuals. I don't believe in wasting time when it comes to learning. I think we all have to be intentional. What are you learning? I didn't have an academic plan, so I have a negative relationship with academics. Sometimes I was a little bit arrogant to say, why should I do psychology? Because then I have a natural thing of understanding people. I have an interest in human beings, and I have learned a lot more about human beings through human experiences. You know what I mean? But when I began to understand, now I am in the L&D space, that's when the academic interest came through, and I studied and I'm qualified as a learning an L&D expert. But I use my marketing background in terms of how I approach anybody in the workplace. When you're in HR, everybody's a client. So my marketing background has come in handy, because I always say what makes me unique from another HR person and an L&D person is because I've got a marketing background. The way I think is very different. I am always identifying gaps, listening to a client's needs, and then how can I creatively give solutions to these problems. I am very much aware of branding. By the time brand awareness was a big thing, I understood why branding is very important. I myself, I had a role that was not status wise. You know, back then when you said coaching, we didn't take coaches as seriously. When you're a teacher, you went seriously. When you were in training and development, because that was the name back then, we didn't take those roles seriously. But because I'm a visionary, I don't always also go with what is popular. I go with what I have seen is to come. And I make sure I become a solution today. By the time everything is popular, I've already started, structured. So I do encourage that when you're in these roles or entering or emerging into these activities of yours as you endeavor in your career, please always enter with the fact that there are things that you already have and create a space. I created my role in this company where I ended up for 11 years. 2 months after I left Investec to enter this organization, I faced a restructuring. So how is it that I entered a role with a restructure and a retrenchment, but I ended up in that company for 11 years? Guess what? My stubbornness, my determination, my it was almost like, a romantic relationship with a man. When you meet them, you're like, oh my God, this is the one. I was obsessed about, no, this company is the one. This role is the one. This manager is the one for me. I am not going anywhere. So I started to serve and add value in a role that was not yet qualified, or it wasn't in the org structure. But I knew the organization needed. Who doesn't need L&D? You know what I mean? So I started that opportunity while there's still discussions of how we're going to have an org structure. And guess what? That put me in that seat. And that is a role I created, I built. And by the time Triple B scorecard came through, by the time we're speaking transformation, by the time we're talking unemployment, youth, making a difference in our communities and in South Africa and all those things, I, Nosipho, had already had that passion, had already seen the gap, and I had opened myself up to such opportunities, even when they were not popular. And now today, there isn't any organization that does not want to participate in talent development, even though obviously there's a creative way now of doing that. Fast tracking because of time. MC, you can also give me a heads up because now I'm speaking and I'm not really able to look out for everything. What I wanted to say was that,
Keep cooking.
yes. So what I wanted to say was, maybe let me share challenges, because it's important to know how to transform your challenges into opportunities. So yes, I shared the one of the restructuring. I changed it into an opportunity because when everybody else was still confused, my structured mind had already seen a gap. And in a way, I did that. The worst thing that could have happened would have been, Nosipho, thank you so much, but we don't need this function. But if anything else, it was, oh my gosh, we need this. How can we formalize it? And I was ready. The other challenge, I must be honest, is I think in every role we deal with people. Itu mentioned that relationships very, very critical, and being very mindful of those relationships because they become part of your references, they become part of your networking. We are all moving into a space where we actually want to be entrepreneurs as well, or we are just doing some side hustles that are like, for me, for instance, I'm a passionate vocalist. Who knows, I could be, my other side hustle would be that I'm an artist somewhere, but obviously I did not get to do that. And I think I'm too old for that partner, so I sing at home. But I wanted to make an example, is that when I'm not an individual who knows and who had known how it's like to be loved by your manager or favored. So, I'm I always wondered, individuals who have had a pathway in all their jobs, their managers love them, leadership and all these things. And you could see even their movement, their growth, their development was really well nurtured. So that was not my story. And not because I was naughty. I think it's just my story. Sometimes only when you're older, you understand why. I guess I understood why I had to be the Cinderella, who just was not always favored by those who led me. And I've come to conclude that it was because I myself am a leader. And how sometimes life has to teach you something, you almost have to also, you're put in a space to not know the comfort of it. So that now that life knew I was going to be a head of skills, where I moved from a specialist into now managing people, it knew that I would be required to be a leader. And that experience of never being led well in my standards, it helped me and still helps me to be the kind of leader that I am today. I lead from the heart. I'm not apologetic about it. I'm not. I don't have insecurities. I don't have to give to lead by authority or rather want to be felt and all those things. I'm very mindful of human experiences. My success has come from my humility. My success has not come from anything else, but humility has come from the care and understanding of people, because I am in the people business. So therefore, I must be sensitive in how I navigate things. So these leadership qualities where I need to know how to manage conflict without breaking people, but building them. And I choose the route of inspiring. Even when I've had to deliver very tough conversations to those who have been exposed to me, I've had to be mindful and have to make sure that it either has to be inspiring, or rather, now that I'm a coach, I understood to help an individual to explore so they can notice their own accountability, they can notice their own errors in this whole situation. But other than that, there's nobody who's ever going to walk away feeling like, damn, I was inhumanized because I didn't perform, because I did an error, and so forth. And so I want to wrap it up by saying that, in a nutshell, and I think I've identified that with Itu as well, if I were to say, okay, no, so an administrator to head off and all of these things, and experiencing academic confusion, and then also working without really earning to my level. Again, unfortunately, because this is my path, mine wasn't always where I looked at money. Mine was, I always looked at the depth of my knowledge and experience. And I am a believer of, then money does follow you. So to close up, I want to say that find what you're good at, and understand your strengths, and then get remunerated for. I think there is a place, like Tumi saying, where you must be able to also negotiate yourself, be bold and brave to refuse to be exploited, and so forth. But these things, they are very sensitive because you're dealing with human beings. You ought to have practiced how you're going to communicate that. You ought to have made sure that how you deliver that, it's going to be a thing that is more inspiring, where people have the respect, and then obviously you can negotiate from now on. My boldness, my bravery, and my answer to my call in life, even when my career wasn't always fancy in some places, it has led me to my own success. So due to relocation back from KZN to Johannesburg, I am currently in a transitioning stage. I am currently not in any corporate office. And I call it transitioning stage because, once again, I'm looking to see where life wants me to flow. However, in the meantime, because I'm passionate about talent development, youth development, and all those sort of things, guess what? I'm an independent contractor. I'm project managing with different various clients on the topic of skills development. Somebody says, hey, Nos, can you come train my grads for work readiness? Of course I can, because that's what I did. That's why I recruited, I mentored, I designed those programs. I outsourced other providers to come and do so. Now today, I'm the provider who's doing the same thing. I'm utilizing my skills. I don't need a four-wall place to validate me, to confirm that the only way I can operate as a skills expert is within the four walls. While I'm transitioning, no idea where my next career move is. I am utilizing the skills I have to create income, to also create more expertise, to level up in my knowledge, and also to be more updated about the workplace that's happening now. So, in a nutshell, I wish you all the best. I don't know where all of you are in this platform, but I'm really hoping that what we have shared in a short space of time could be valuable, if not inspiring. And yeah, that's it for now.
I told you guys it's a very hot conversation. It's hotter than Joburg's weather. So we're about to get into our Q&A discussion. Thank you so much for those nuggets that you've been sharing, Nosipho. And we're about to kick off with the Q&A discussion. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, unmute yourself, and let's get into the Q&A. Like I said, these are heavyweights who are on this call, and you're not just going to find them on the street. Hey, you have to send email to PA Spanibane to get a hold of them. So let's use these opportunities very frugally. If we have any questions, I don't see any questions at this point, but I'm going to throw one that I have. How does one navigate corporate politics considering that? Oh, sorry. I see a couple of questions. Hey, let me start with these ones. Speaking of agents, how do I get one, especially as a new graduate or a young professional? That would be the first question.
Okay, perfect. And I must say, it is so sad to still meet graduates who are still asking a question in terms of where to from here. So in terms of where do I find agents, my first thing is that you have to take some time to be on the net. Nothing is more, maybe perhaps easier. I wanted to say free, but it's not free because you need data as well, to just go through the internet um, and only look at agencies, organizations, institutions that are offering where you want to be as a career. So let's say you're an IT graduate. Google IT companies, go to their websites. Some of them are advertising through their websites, they're not advertising via LinkedIn. And then LinkedIn, of course, it's such a lovely tool where you get to meet different types of people. You have to make sure that you've also profiled yourself quite well on LinkedIn, because sometimes there are opportunities that come to you and sometimes there are opportunities that you seek. So where do you get the agents? I would say, instead of naming them, I would really just say, please fall in love with Google search. Take some time and say, I'm in IT, so I'm going to go to, okay, I'll just say IBM, and then and I'm going to just search on their website and let's see what they're offering. And that could be the beginning of it. Or graduate programs, Google graduate programs, Google internships, or whatever it is. That speaks to your line of interest. And you'll be surprised how one small thing leads you to another.
Thank you very much for that concise answer. And how do I plan properly for my career with such limited work opportunities in South Africa?
Yes, that is a reality. Limited, and on top of limited, there's also a lot of changes going through in corporate as well. And I think once you understand that, then you'll start knowing that you shouldn't take it personal. It's just really what's happening in the world right now. So I think I'm going to say what we all hear, but I think we just have to be more intentional about it. Coming up with a strategy to stand out and make sure that your brand as a person, as a profile, stands out to attract that which you want is really the main thing that you can work on. So we spoke about LinkedIn. Updating your CV is actually the first thing. Is your CV, are you proud that when you are not there, nobody knows who you are, and you step into the roles where all other smart people like you are there, all other intelligent people like you are there, but are you able to define what is unique about you? And have you thought about how you're going to stand out? It's a strategy thing. You literally have to sit here and be strategic about how you navigate and plan your next move. You know what I mean? And LinkedIn will give you quite a lot, because there's a lot of industries in LinkedIn. There's a lot of conversation. Some people are saying are hiring, others it's something else. And I just think the plan, the strategic vision will be the one that can at least help you. But you have to know what are your skills. You have to know what you're good at. Right now, let's say I had a job and I had to say, you've got only 5 minutes to then, as you're struggling, what do you have to offer? You need to be ready even to answer such questions for such people. So the reason with unemployment being very high, all we can say is strategize how you stand out. How do you put your profile out there and your brand, and make it unique as well? That's the thing, because already there is that. And not only thinking about corporate, like we said, what skills, other skills do you have that you must search? Where else are those skills needed besides corporate? There's institutions. There's these days there are a lot more creative ways of where we can apply our skills.
Amazing, amazing. And for some of our young graduates who are perhaps still in university or about to graduate or perhaps have graduated, the question is that as a talent developer or HR administrator, what would you, hey, Ghana, these days we call them talent acquisition managers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say companies look for in graduates when they're looking to develop their graduate development programs? What do they typically look for that would differentiate a graduate from all the others?
Perfect. I love this question because I am those organizations, right? In the space of recruiting young talent, we look for potential. That's the first thing. And what is potential? Potential is clumped up in confidence. Just a grad who came into interviews, they're well dressed. So brand image, professional. Second thing, it's the energy. They can articulate themselves very well. So communication skills, to be honest with you, is what makes other people or other grads be successful in their interviews. There's a lot of communication barriers that are still making a lot of our young people from different walks of life struggle to get the opportunities. Confidence, energy, articulation of who are you, what do you want, and what do you think this opportunity will do for you. Have that answer. How do you relate to this company X to you? You know what I mean? What do you think this opportunity will do for you and for your future? What value add do you bring? We're not looking for experience when I'm saying value add. I'm saying just yourself. You could be like, at school, I was always involved in debates, and this other projects that we would do, I would find myself leading, or my role was to whatever. As a recruiter or a talent acquisition, what I'm hearing is, oh, this candidate has got potential of communication. This candidate has got a potential of leadership. This candidate has got project management skills. This role, this junior role, this candidate will actually do it quite well and master it and be effective. This candidate could probably move quite faster because they have already some skills they have. But did you know that these are the things that you could see as skills? That's the question.
Bafethu, I hope you are DVDing this thing. Like, these are powerful insights. Kamogelo, I would like to encourage you to perhaps unmute yourself and ask that question directly with confidence. Chest out and just ask the question about the risk. Kamogelo, le sabe.
You're putting me on the spot there, Ezekiel, but it's fine. I'll take the risk. Thanks, Nosipho, for those nuggets that you shared. I think my question was around, you mentioned that because you come from a marketing background, you always had a customer centric kind of approach to solving business problems and creating almost the opportunities, the next opportunities. And like an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, whichever, because I mean, entrepreneurs from a corporate perspective, right? That required you to mitigate or experience some level of risk that you were always moving against. Like you said, in the corporate that you were in or the organization you were in, there was restructures. So there was a bit of a risk of whether they were going to take it. Do you find that in each of these positions where you've taken these risks, you had to balance that risk with a level of security, or were they always calculated risks with high propensity of succeeding?
That is quite interesting. So I think I'm going to first start with the honest one for the risk that I took in the particular company, which was the restructuring. I'm going to be very honest with this particular one. I was young. I was in my late 20s, sorry, when I entered this organization. I did not plan for B. And sometimes I think that was all also that I needed, because I spent my energies on plan A. And plan A was, I want this, I want to be here, I'm not leaving, I've just found a role here, which then I was aligned to, because once again, I happened to stay there for 11 years, but yet I was affected on a restructure in 2 months after I left another corporate. So on this particular example, I didn't have plan B. All energies were on plan A. And yes, I utilized my marketing background. I literally had to pretend that this was my company, because I think maybe coming from Investec as well, I had that entrepreneur flair, because Investec is known for that. So I had that thing of, this is, if it was my company, what would I do? So you know what I did? I said, okay, what did I learn in marketing? And then I said, how do I brand myself? Nobody really knows me. I've been here for two months. So how do I market myself? And then what were the other gaps that I've noticed in the organization? Oh, the people internally didn't even know what HR and L&D is offering. Let me come up with a strategy to advertise. And then I had to also learn my consulting experience, which I didn't have because I was still young, right? But the bravery and the boldness was, how do I introduce myself? Going to line managers and saying, I'm Nosipho Ndamase, I'm in the L&D ABCD there. How can I help you? What are your skills needs? So on this one, there was no plan B. Sometimes in life, as much as we also plan to plan, there is also a universal world of invisible things that we deal with, and just some things just work out. Now let's talk about where there were challenges in other areas of my career, and I had to risk manage. again, now that I'm thinking about it, it just seems like I've been taking risks. Hey, I think on this one of relocation, maybe let's go there. The relocation one, I had to resign because there was no opportunity in Johannesburg. And I was coming back to Johannesburg due to marriage and having a baby. So my personal life was sort of taking a little bit of a front seat for having been a career woman. And I answered to that too. For the first time in my life, I decided, let me go and make some personal decisions, because most of the time, independent women, we make career decisions or financial decisions. The risks, I was aware of them. I think also be aware of your risks and have realities about them. And then my mitigation would be, but I have something to offer. I just gonna have to take some time on how do I brand myself. Where do I creatively think about my next move? As I'm saying now, I'm not in corporate. Did I pursue some corporate roles? Yes, I have. They haven't come through. And I said, I decided not to wait for such. So I'm creating my own. And I'm currently, I may not be earning the money that I was earning on a full salary, but I am about humble beginnings. I don't speak ill about my activities, because I do believe that one day all it needs is for me to strike one big opportunity, and I'll get back to all of that. So the mitigation of the risk here is me. I trust and believe in myself and my capabilities. I just need to know where and who and how.
Sure. That's beautifully answered. We're almost at the tail end of our conversation, but I'll throw in another one. Um, Abu Khurutman are always talking about mentorship, mentorship. So for us young people, how critical was mentorship in your career, and how do we go about getting mentorship opportunities as young people?
As I mentioned, I'm that girl, right? I didn't have mentors. I didn't have coaches. Those were not really the those were not the things of my time. I mean, I am in my late 40s now. You know what I mean? So I'm a girl who I am self-developed when it comes to my career. I've had to be all of that to myself, and obviously respond to the environments that opened up a place for me to succeed. So I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a coach. Right now, I can tell you that the one coach that I need, that I now am aware that I need a coach, is the one where it's my transition. Because if I don't go back to corporate and I have to fully be an entrepreneur, I was going to say young lady, I would then need a coach, which is important because at least know what you need at certain levels of your career. You know what I mean? Because I've never been an entrepreneur. I've only thought within the spaces of corporate. Now I'm in a different land. That means that I need mentorship. So everybody's approach should be the same. Okay, I'm at this level. So I need what type of coach? At what level? For what level? I speak and preach about mentorship and coaching when it comes to youth development. I do believe that any youth to be successful quicker, faster, and effectively needs to have a mentor, needs to have a coach, especially because the environment requires that now. And also, there is a lot of people who are offering to do so. Otherwise, you will navigate with blindness while your peers are being successful because they have the benefits of mentors, sponsorships, and coaching. So I didn't have it, but I do support it.
Hey, wow. This has been a very important and very insightful conversation. Nosipho, thank you very much. I'm afraid we've run out of time, but one thing I can say from our speakers today is quoting Sir Isaac Newton by saying, "If I have seen far, it is because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants." And these two giants, these amazing ladies who've just shared their experiences about career planning and pivoting, have been absolutely instrumental. I see Zakila is asking just one more, just one more. How would you advise one about going about getting a mentor? It's just a follow up question on the last one. So, how would you advise one about going about getting a mentor? And then after that, we'll just close it off.
Okay. Um, yeah, that even makes me a little bit emotional, right? Because I think with young people, all they're still seeking are the basics. And that is quite telling in terms of how much work we still have to do. So how does one go about getting a mentor? Okay, so it's a very broad one, and I'll tell you why. One, if you want me to be your mentor because of this platform that I'm here, that means that you're just going to have to find out about my contact details, call me up and say, Nosipho, do you have time? Can you mentor me A, B, C, and D? So how you get a mentor is that even platforms where you're going and you're identifying a Sizwe, you're identifying a Dumi who has something that you need and want that is in line with where you want to go. You just approach people. And again, approach being the key word, how you approach them. That's the first thing. Second, let's say it's complicated. Nosipho is too far, no contact details. Other people are on LinkedIn. You are scared. How do you do it? I always, I've got this thing of why don't you start with your own circles? You've got friends of friends, right? You may be in corporate or you're not in corporate. You may be part of this organization that has brought this opportunity. How you get mentors, you ask them, or that as you identify people, sometimes your mentor could be a neighbor on the streets who you see they've got a suit on, they've been quite successful when you've been observing them in their career or whatever that they do. Your curiosity and your interest in people is building relationships will enhance and increase your chances of having a mentor.
Wow. Zakila, I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much, Nosipho, for all of the stellar insights that you've shared with us today. I know somebody would have said to me, "Hey, Chief, come to my seminar, 2,000 Rand per person for these kind of insights." So we are highly indebted to you for all of these insights. And with that said, I just want to thank our two speakers, Nosipho Ndamase and Itumeleng Makheme, for joining us in this stand-up conversation on career planning. For you guys who've joined, you are our audience. Without you, we wouldn't have an event. So thank you so much for joining on. As we're about to close, I'm going to ask Moremi to please share what they're cooking at Think Big 39 and what's to come. There's a lot of exciting things that the organization are doing. And Moremi, if you could please just enlighten us on what's happening. In the words of Rob Marawa, Sasha Valama, just Minagiti. Shelele, it's been amazing journeying with you guys tonight. Over to you, Press.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ezekiel. And apologies, I won't be able to share my video here. I just want to quickly check if Dr. L is here, because I had a lot of questions about mentors and mentees. Maybe it will be a great opportunity to just share what we are doing around the mentorship area. Dr. L, are you around?
Hi, Moremi. Yes, I am on the line.
Yes, if maybe you can just touch a bit on our mentorship program for those that are interested from both a mentee and a mentor point of view. And then I will just wrap it up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Lebogang Mokoena, and I head people management and also the mentorship program at Think Big 39. So what we are currently doing is we have a mentorship program which is in two ways. The first one is student to learner mentorship, where we visit our target group, which is high school learners, and we pair them with ambassadors of change, which is the term that we use for the volunteers in our organization, to basically have a buddy system and just help them transition from high school into university. Just bridging that gap in terms of the knowledge and the understanding of what to expect when you do get to university. And then the second part of our mentorship program is the one where we now have the students, which are the young professionals or university students, linking now to our Deloitte mentors, which are the people who are currently in corporate, again, to just help them transition from university into the corporate world, bridging that gap again of what to expect and how to better prepare yourself. We have a lot of discussions around networking, how to shape your CV and, right? And how you join any of those mentorship programs as a mentee or a mentor is you would have to reach out to our human capital group. And those who are on the line and are not part of the organization and would like to join, the first step would be joining the organization. We have a Join Us tab on our website, and then we'll take it from there. And then those who would like to join as mentors, that would be greatly appreciated. And again, please just reach out to us. Our contact details are on our website. And it's thingbig39.co.za. Moremi, over to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lebo. Actually, see, I can share my screen now. Hopefully, I am visible. All right. So the last one is just around the donor program that we are running. As you would know, we are a nonprofit organization. So we always use donations to support the amazing work that we are doing. So also, if you are interested in being part of what we call the pillars, which is our donors, please also go onto our website and just register there, right? So our pillars actually contribute to the organization on a monthly basis, as little as 100 Rand a month. So it isn't much, but the impact that it has is quite huge. So we are urging those that interested in making an impact in the learners and students' life to be part of this amazing journey. Right. And lastly, in terms of the other projects that we are currently working on, we're working on a very big project in high school called the educational program. So this is also a call for those that are students that have joined us here to participate. So what we are currently doing here is one of the schools in Tembisa, which is a previously disadvantaged area. We are adopting that school from grade 9 right until grade 12, where we are empowering the learners in various areas, from reading with comprehension, research skills, literacy, as well as the career guidance and tutoring services, with the aim of making sure that a learner in a previously disadvantaged area has got the same equal opportunity that those from Model C schools or upper end schools are having. So if you are here and you're saying, you know what, I can't do donations, but I do have time, so please be part of that project. And then in terms of all the other projects that we'll be running in the next coming months or so, please be on the lookout on our various social media pages, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So that should be all. If there is any question, I'm happy to take the question. Otherwise, thank you very much, Ezekiel. I know you've already done your kumshelele. I'm going to hand it back to you to wrap it up if there isn't any question.
I don't see any questions, but thank you so much, guys, for the opportunity, and thank you for an awesome evening. It's a Saturday evening. You guys could have been anywhere in Jersey, but you decided this is where you want to invest, investing in your future. And I wish you guys all the best. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, MC. Thank you. Well done. Great evening to everyone.
Thank you.